All right, good evening, Titan Nation. I'm back, a new edition of Titans in Truth. I have come back out of exile. I have been on a hiatus for a little while, just getting ready for the season since you last saw me with the draft. And since then, quite a bit has happened, and some things have changed, which we're going to get into in just a bit as we get ready for Titans in Truth and Training Camp Edition. I'm Chris, aka Blue Enforcer, and tonight I got a very, very special show in store for you as we preview the offense for the Tennessee Titans as we get ready to head into training camp, which is about a little over 10 days away. And ladies and gentlemen, you better get ready, buckle up your seatbelts. Tonight, Titans in Truth goes uncensored. So, we are going to go a little uncensored, and we're going to have some fun with that. And for the first time in a while, I have a guest. So, shockingly, somebody wanted to join me tonight. Normally, I can't find nobody to join me for a while. So, this time was a little bit different. I was able to bribe, plead, beg, and name, and somebody decided to feel sorry for me and come on the show today. But I have a very, very special guest on the line via telephone with me. If you don't know him, you're gonna get to know him, and you're going to absolutely enjoy this guy. I've been on his show a couple of times. He is the Grand Pumbaa, the host of Two Tone Uncensored, very famous podcast, which I've been honored to be a guest of a couple of times. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to some and introduce to others the one and only Mr. Matt Nicrone on the line joining us. Matt, how you doing?
Wow, man. I'm doing good, man. That was quite the introduction. I don't think I deserve all that, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Happy to be here. You know, we had you come on a couple times in recent weeks. You did a great job. I felt like I had to come back and try to repay the favor.
Hey, and that is very much appreciated. I mean, you know, I was, just to tell everybody a little bit of what's going on. Matt is definitely one of my Facebook friends. I follow him. He follows me, and so they were doing a podcast about a month ago, I want to say, and Matt reached out to me and asked if I would come on and be a guest. And so, you know, I'm like starstruck. I'm like, wow, you know, an actual, you know, big time podcast is calling me. So, you know, I decided to come on. We had a absolutely fantastic time talking all things Titans from all over the country. And, you know, I give them good perspective since I'm here and, you know, everything with that. So, we got together, and I mean, I had an absolute blast with the guys, with him, with his co-hosts Ryan and Glenn, who are also following me as well, and I follow them too. And so I've been on their show a couple of times talking Titans, and we actually had a good kick-ass time the last time, especially getting into something with some troll talking about Steve McNair's legacy. How dare he? We're not even going to go into it, but how dare he?
Yeah, that dude doesn't deserve any more recognition. He's
Absolutely not. But Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show with me tonight, and we're going to basically get into training camp, and I am definitely eager to see what Matt has to say as far as what's going on with the Tennessee Titans. And for everybody out there, training camp is just around the corner. July the 29th, the first practices will take place at St. Thomas Sports Park coming up. And the first practices, I'm going to give y'all a quick rundown of the schedule. It is going to be, the first practice will be Saturday, July 29th, and Sunday, July 30th. Both of those are from 2:40 to 4:30 p.m. And then they'll have morning practices on the 31st of July, the 1st of August, and the 3rd of August. All of those are at 8:55 in the morning until 11 o'clock. Friday, they're going to have one of their first night practices on August the 4th. And then August the 5th, they will have another night practice, but this time it'll be at Nissan Stadium. Monday, August 7th. So they'll have 3 straight night practices from 6:55 to 9 p.m. Wednesday, August 9th, Thursday, August 10th are going to be day practices in the morning. August 14th on a Monday will be a night practice at 6:55. And then Wednesday, August 16th and Thursday, August 17th, a national holiday for a lot of you. That is my birthday, of course. Those will be the practices with the Carolina Panthers leading to that second preseason game with Carolina. So these are the practices that will be open to the public. They are free. Come in, enjoy some good practices. They'll have autograph sessions, everything with that. And they're actually from across from where I work. As some of you know, I work across the street, across the lake from the practice facility. And they're actually building bleachers. They're adding more bleachers on the sidelines because I'm believing they're expecting a really big crowd to come out. So they're going to have a lot of bleachers, a lot of places to sit. So you're actually able to see different parts of the field where they're going to be practicing. So that's going to be a lot. Matt, I know I believe you're in Oklahoma. Is that right?
No, that's Glenn. I'm actually in South Carolina.
South Carolina. I knew one of you was in Oklahoma. I knew one of you was in South Carolina. So I knew that for a fact. So, hey, Glenn, that might be a good time for you to come up for a practice, a good vacation.
Yeah. It drives me nuts. Ever since I've been down here, every time the Panthers play the Titans, it's always in Nashville. They never came to Charlotte. Charlotte's about a 2-hour drive for me. So,
yeah.
The first time they do, I'm there, man. But I heard they were doing that practice, and I'm like, oh, where's it at? And then of course it's in Nashville. I'm like, all right, well. So.
Yeah, they tend to. I know the last time I believe they did a practice like with a team, I think they did it with Atlanta a couple of years ago. But they were in Atlanta when they did it with the Falcons. So yeah, this time they're bringing the team here. So I am. Hopefully getting to look forward to that. I'm definitely going to try to make at least about 5 practices. And what I will be doing, you'll definitely see me going live. I will be doing some Facebook Lives from practice itself. And then, of course, we'll be doing some recaps of what was seen at practice. Maybe see if I can get a couple of words from a player or two. I'll try to see if I can do that. I ain't got that VIP access yet, but I'm working on it. But Matt, we're gonna go ahead. Let's get into. Give me just a second, everybody. All right, Matt, I got you back on there. We lost connection for a quick second.
Apologize about that. My fault.
No problem there. No problem there. We go keep going. People understand, and if they don't, I am so sorry for them. But let's get into that. With training camp coming up, we know that there are spots on the line. We know that there are going to be some guys fighting to start, and we know there's going to be some guys that are just going to be lucky if they make the team. And right now, we're going to focus on the offensive side of the ball, which I actually believe is one of my favorite sides, even though I'm a defensive guy. Matt, you're more of a defensive guy, if I may assume. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know if I'm partial to either. I do appreciate a good defensive game, but offense lighting them up at the same time is just as exciting. So, as far as what I want to see in this year's team, we definitely need to see that defense improved for sure. But that offense was kind of clicking last year, and I kind of want to pick up where we left off.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly the name of the game of the show. And for everybody, yes, we are going to be talking offense tonight. Next week, we're going to be talking defense as far as previewing this team, looking at the defensive side of the ball. And for those of you that may listen, I may end up having the crew of Two-Tone Uncensored back. We may go Uncensored Part 2 on the defensive side next week, so stay tuned for information on that. I'll be getting that out as soon as possible. But looking at the offensive side of the ball, we could definitely take a look. Let's start with the most important position we all know, and that is that quarterback position. And, of course, we all know for a fact everything starts with number 8, with Super Mario 8. We know he's the catalyst, and he's going to be the guy that makes this train go. With him, we have a real shot at doing something very special. Without him, there could be a lot of problems. So Marcus starts this whole thing. Without him, we don't have much. And looking at the quarterback position, of course, behind him is Matt Castle, who came in, did okay with Jacksonville, but we got behind and won us a game in Houston. And then Alex Tanney at the quarterback position. Those are the three. And I know they got another guy, Tyler Ferguson, but I don't think he's going to really be a factor as far as making the team. Matt, my question to you is, with the quarterback position, do we carry 3 quarterbacks or do we stick with just 2?
I'm looking at it as we're keeping probably just 2. Unfortunately for us, I believe Matt Castle is going to get that spot just because of his veteran leadership. I do think Tanny probably has a little bit more to offer than Castle, but I don't see us keeping 3. I think we have more valuable players to make that 53-man squad than a third quarterback. And I could be wrong. I mean, they may see something they like. They don't want to let Tanny go. But unless something crazy happens during these next few weeks, I can't see Tanny beating Castle out for that second spot.
Okay, well, I definitely can hear you on that one. And, my thought about it is that, of course, Marcus is going to be under center first and foremost, and he's going to get major pay by the Titans within the next year or two. So that I'm not worried about. Now, in this battle for the second quarterback position, I would tend to say about 90% is going to go to Matt Castle. However, of course, he did sustain an injury. He did sustain that injury during OTAs, and Alex Tanney was able to get a lot of snaps with the first team and was able to get a lot of quality snaps. Now, again, that may not make much of a difference. They may still stick with Castle for his veteran experience, but I do think Alex Tanney may have a shot of getting on this team. If anything, and I'm not sure if he's practice squad eligible, he could stick on the practice squad just in case if there is a problem with Matt. But I'm with you. I don't think they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks. I think Matt will probably be on the practice squad and may end up elsewhere, and they're going to keep with Matt Castle. And I think after this year, they may actually draft a quarterback next year to groom to be behind Marcus just in case an injury happens. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter because Marcus is going to be behind center pretty much all season, barring any serious injury, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. I think, I'm not positive on this, I believe Tanny is no longer eligible for that practice squad. I could be wrong, I'm not 100%, but I think last year was his last year of eligibility for that.
And I will probably venture to agree with that as far as the practice squad goes. So if he gets cut, somebody else is probably going to pick him up. And it wouldn't shock me if Cleveland picked him up, because I know they've been on him for the last couple of years, and we've kept him away from him. So we'll definitely see what happens there. Now, on to the running back position, and I know this is a position that we have definitely talked about on your podcast before, as far as what's going to happen with running back. Now, it's perfectly obvious. DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry, that's automatic. That's our two-headed monster, definitely going into the season with those guys. Now, I've mentioned before about Keflani Muhammad probably being that third back coming in. And I threw in David Fluellen. I know he's been trying to get on the team for the last couple of years. I think he's going to end up getting cut eventually, and I think we're only going to carry 3 running backs. But I think Keflani Muhammad, I know that a couple of guys on Two-Tone Uncensored, and this may include yourself as well, have, worried about his height and his size as far as what he could do on special teams, but he could definitely be that change of pace back on third down. But as far as, and I know y'all love Derrick Henry. I know you love Derrick Henry. So I want you to give it to me as far as what you're thinking about this running back position. I think it'll go just 3.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let me just start off. Ryan is the pessimist of the group. He's the one that's hating on the size of Muhammad. But, he's got a point to an extent. I don't think that I think our argument was the fact that he thinks he's not physically built for an NFL punishment that he's going to take. But at the same time, I don't think we'll be using him that often. Where I think where we do use him in different wrinkles, he can be very explosive, a great change of pace from the guys that we have ahead of him. And, you brought up David Fluellen. That's a guy that couldn't make the roster when we had Bishop Sankey, Antonio Andrews, and David Cobb. So, I mean,
wow.
the job is basically his, if you're asking me. And that's, I didn't watch him in college at all. I didn't know who he was until we drafted him. But the highlights I've seen, this kid can hit. He lays into tacklers. He's explosive, and he's the exact opposite of what we already have, which is great. So, you go back a couple years with the Dexter McCluster fiasco with Ken Wisenhunt.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind
of that, theory of just that change of pace kind of guy. The difference between these guys are that Henry can catch the ball out of the backfield. Murray can catch the ball out of the backfield. So we don't necessarily need Muhammad for that. But, if we use him on different places on the field, I think he can be, that X factor in our backfield. So I'm giving him that third spot. I do think we keep 3. Derrick Henry, obviously, a lot to prove this season. We saw a little taste last season.
Absolutely.
A lot of people high on this guy, but, some of the fans are calling for, Henry to start. That's not going to be the case. You cannot take DeMarco Murray off the field that long. The 1-2 combo is obviously going to be something we need to run often. But I think they're going to help each other. I think they're going to, a lot of people, when we took Derrick Henry, was worried about his mileage at Alabama. Granted, he only played 1 full season, and they ran him to death. Same thing with DeMarco Murray. Everybody was worried about his tread in Dallas. Well, he kind of took a year off in Philadelphia. So
exactly.
Both of those guys are going to help each other, split the carries. I'm not sure as far as the fantasy football aspect how that's going to work out for anybody. Right. But I think for a team goal, both of those guys are going to help each other out. And it's a great situation, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with that. I am a huge DeMarco Murray fan. I was so happy when we got this guy in from Philadelphia, because I'll tell you a quick little story right quick, and we'll definitely keep going with this. When I saw the news about DeMarco Murray becoming a Titan, I was about to leave my job at work, and I looked on Bleacher Report for a second before I left, and I saw something that said, Titans acquired DeMarco Murray. And I thought to myself, hold up, this has got to be a joke. This cannot be for real. And so I looked at some other sites and confirmed it. No, it's not a joke. John Robinson got DeMarco Murray for practically nothing. And I was just shocked and surprised. And I was absolutely, floored with excitement when that news came out. And then you throw Derrick Henry behind him. And I know a lot of people want Derrick Henry to start, but Titan fans, you're going to have to hold off just maybe another year or two. Derrick Henry is going to get his opportunity. He is going to get his chances. He will end up being the starting running back of the future. But right now it's the DeMarco Murray show, and Derrick Henry is co-starring. Either way, they're both going to get their carries. They're both going to get their touchdowns. I think DeMarco Murray's carries will come down a little, and Derrick Henry's will come up. Now, DeMarco had right at close to 300 carries. I believe he had 280 carries last year. Derrick Henry had 110. I'm thinking Derrick Henry will probably get up around 130 to 150. DeMarco is probably going to come down to about maybe 250 at that. So about 30 to 40 less carries, which will help in health going hopefully into the postseason. So I agree that we will keep 3 running backs on that. But now I'm ready to go to a position that I'm very interested in seeing about, and that is those darn wideouts. And for the first time, and I would say ages, maybe even eons, we can truly say we are excited a little bit about this wide receiver position. I mean, I got on here right now Rashard Matthews, Corey Davis, Taywan Taylor, Eric Decker, Tajay Sharp. I think Eric Weems will make the team for special teams purposes to help out with that. And then I have, in my honest opinion, Harry Douglas and Trey McBride on the outside looking in. I think they're going to end up with 6. I think they're going to go 6 wide receivers. Matt, talk to me. What are your thoughts?
I look at it like this, and I guess I'm going to go ahead and say they keep 5. So, you look at 1A, 1B. I think Rashard Matthews is going to pick up where he left off. I think the chemistry is there. That's not going anywhere.
Agree.
To say that Eric Decker is going to come in and be that number 1 guy, nobody knows that yet, but I will say I expect him to have a huge red zone impact on this team. I think he's going to see a lot of red zone action. You look at those guys as the 1A, 1B. I would honestly put Decker in the slot. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not sure how everyone's going to be placed, but you got Rashard Matthews, Eric Decker. Obviously, Corey Davis comes up next. Taywan Taylor as that 4th guy, in my opinion. I think he and Tajay Sharp are going to have a battle this camp, and I'm interested to see. I'm not sure how far along Tajay is in his injury. I know he had a minor surgery. I'm not quite sure exactly. Something on his ankle, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, so I expect if he can come back and compete with Taywan. I think Tajay's already behind the ball a little bit, but I honestly think if it was a competition, Tajay is not just going to lay down for this kid. But I've heard nothing but good things about Taylor, so I expect Taylor to be that 4th guy. And I honestly don't believe we're keeping anyone past Tajay Sharp at number 5. So I can see why you'd say Eric Weems. I've never been on board with that signing. I know, at the time we didn't really have an answer. But after the draft, when we took Muhammad, I think Adoree Jackson, there's guys on this team that can run our special teams, and I don't think Eric Weems really has much to offer, to be honest.
Now, and I could definitely understand where you're coming from with that on Eric Weems. I mean, he would just be strictly special teams, and he wouldn't really have anything to offer us on the offensive side of the ball. So I definitely can understand where you're coming from with that. And the reason why I think we keep Eric Weems a bit as a 6th receiver is mainly for special teams, because, I mean, the special teams unit last year was just so bad. It was horrible. I mean, you were basically, for an uncensored term, up shit's creek when special teams is out there, because you're afraid there's a big play coming that special teams is going to give up. That's what we were afraid of. And, special teams, because of that, we lost maybe a couple of games because of that. The Houston game last year, I know we lost it because of special teams. That was a huge factor, and I think that's why Eric Weems was signed. Now, I agree. He's going to have to fight like hell to make this team. You're going to have to show a little bit on offense to do it. And back to Tajay Sharp, though. I do want to discuss this a little bit. With Tajay, yes, Tajay Sharp, very nice rookie season. Wasn't great, but wasn't terrible. If he does come back from this ankle injury and gives us anything, I think he'll be on the team. Granted, there's not any trouble with this issue, with the case that he's going to have to deal with. And if it gets big, Roger Goodell being the warden that he is, he could come down on Tajay for a game or 2. So that might be a reason why we keep 6. And then maybe after that, if that does go that far, then somebody probably gets cut maybe after the first or second game of the year. But I can agree that Tajay, I think, will be on this team going forward. Now, as far as I'm concerned, what I think obviously Rashard's going to start, without a doubt. I think unless Eric Decker beats out Corey Davis, which I don't see happening, I think Corey Davis starts on the other side. And as far as in the slot, I like that battle, Decker and Taywan. I think that's going to be a heck of a battle for the 3rd spot, and I think the other guy will be a 4th spot, which means in this exotic smash mouth offense that we're going to run, I think they're definitely going to have to sprinkle some 3, maybe even 4 wide receiver sets into the picture a little bit. So I could see this being a very dangerous offense, and we're going to have a good problem. I don't know if there's going to be enough balls to go around, especially with us running as much as we are, but it's a good problem to have, in my honest opinion.
And that's a great way to put it because, we are a run-first team, obviously, and I believe we stick with that. But you look at the offense that we have right now, there's more weapons than we've seen in years, if, ever. So we haven't even dug into the tight end yet. So, we'll hold off on that. But,
yes.
Going back, I don't think it's even a battle. Let's just assume Eric Decker comes back healthy to the Eric Decker that we all know. Mm-hmm. I don't even think it's really a competition between him and Corey Davis. I just think there's going to be a lot of rotation amongst all of our receivers. I don't see Matthews coming off the field very often, right. But I could see Decker and Davis switching out in different the X, Y, the Z, whatever position they put him in. I see a lot of rotation coming this year.
Yeah.
You got to remember, we're talking about 5 receivers that can do some damage. Moving on, though, we got some tight ends that you have to keep on the field. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a new offensive wrinkle coming from Robisky this season, and I don't know how he's going to handle it. I just hope he does what he needs to do because he's an old school guy, and I don't know if he's ready for the challenge, but I sure as hell hope he is.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. Terry Robisky definitely has his work cut out for him as far as with all these toys that they get to play with. And speaking of tight ends, that is exactly where I was going to go next. And, we have like you said, we have wide receivers for weapons. We all know we got tight ends for weapons too. Starting off, of course, with our main man, Delanie Walker. Pro Bowler, love him. I think he's got a few more years left in him. He is a solid tight end. I love this cat. And if anybody I hope to get an interview with first, or at least a couple of words, it's got to be good old number 82. When this guy came to the team, and we were talking about, and I know we talked about on the show before about as far as the general manager and everything, as far as Rustin Webster not being a good one and John Robinson really doing a lot of great things. And we all agreed that, Delanie Walker was one of those very few nuggets that Rustin Webster found. And boy, was he ever a nugget. Golden for this team. Yeah. And I just absolutely love him. And I hate we lost Anthony Fasano to Miami, but I think he lives close to Miami, so he just wanted to basically go home. I understand that. But that opens up that second spot with Jonnu Smith, Philip Supernaw. I threw on there Jay Samaro and Jerome Cunningham. I think Jerome Cunningham will probably get cut. And we're going to get into Jay Samaro in just a bit, but I want to give your thoughts on the guys I think will be the top 3 in Delanie, Jonnu, and Philip Supernaw. I'm excited to see Jonnu and see what he can do.
Yes, absolutely. You want to go down the pecking order, obviously Delanie's a guy that you cannot take off the field.
Absolutely. Kane.
And it doesn't matter if we're running the ball, or if we're throwing the ball. That guy needs to be on the field early and often.
Yes.
Second on the depth chart, I don't know. Obviously everybody's got these great expectations for Jonnu Smith. I do as well. We were talking about Ryan earlier. Ryan loves this kid. He thinks he's the next coming. But let's assume he's number 2. I am not a fan of Philip Supernaw whatsoever.
Absolutely.
I don't like much anything about him. When Craig Stevens left 2 years ago, that put a big void in that spot. He was a great blocker. Supernaw tried to fill that role, couldn't do it. He's not a great pass catcher. We haven't seen much from Jay Samaro, but I don't know how much you know about the guy. When he was in college at Texas Tech, this kid put up receiver numbers.
Yes.
He has the capability to be that guy. It didn't work out on the Jets. I didn't follow that too closely, but I would love to see Now, I don't know what kind of blocker Jonnu Smith is. I don't know. Not a fan of Philip Supernall whatsoever.
Absolutely.
I don't like.
Neither am I.
Much anything about him. When Craig Stevens left 2 years ago, that put a big void in that spot. He was a great blocker. Supernall tried to fill that role, couldn't do it. He's not a great pass catcher. We haven't seen much from Jason Morrow, but I don't know how much you know about the guy. When he was in college at Texas Tech, this kid put up receiver numbers. Like
yes.
he has the capability to be that guy. It didn't work out on the Jets. I didn't follow that too closely, but I would love to see. Now, I don't know what kind of blocker Jonnu Smith is. I don't know if he's known for his blocking. But from what I've heard, he does everything pretty well. Nothing, he's not outstanding at one thing. He's great at a lot of things. So hopefully he can be a blocker for us. And, because Jason Morrow is not a blocker. That's the one thing against him.
Yeah.
And I think that might hurt him as the third tight end. I think that's why they may go Supernall over Jason Morrow. But if it's me and I have the last say, I'd take Morrow as my third tight end.
Yes, and that is exactly what I wanted to get into. Of course, Delaney Walker is one of our leaders. You're absolutely right. I'm not taking Delaney Walker off the field unless I'm going 4 wide. And even if I am doing that, I might put Delaney out on a split side. I might put him out there as a receiver. I'm not taking him off the field as much as I want, as much as I would not have to. He's got to be on the field. Jonnu Smith, I want to see what this kid's got. I want to see if he can be that second tight end if we do double tight or something like that. I want to see what he could do as far as blocking and as far as pass catching. From something that I did see with in college, he is a pretty decent pass catcher. And we've all talked about Delaney Walker said himself, he thinks that Jonnu is a way better version of him. That remains to be seen. We're definitely going to find out. Now, I agree with you on Philip Supernall. I have never been a big fan of him. The thing about Philip Supernall that I think they hang on to is he is an okay blocker. Also, he helps on special teams. But you're right. He's not a pass catcher. And the problem I have with Supernall is that he does tend to cause those bad penalties at the worst times. I believe a couple of years ago there was a game against in Jacksonville on that Thursday night. We're on the road. We're trying to come back and win. Supernall had a huge penalty that got us out of scoring range, and we ended up losing the game because of that. So there were a couple of times where Supernall had those stupid penalties that are just uncalled for and we really don't need. So I think, if there's a Titan that I am cheering hard for, if there is a Titan that I want to make this offensive side of the ball really bad, it is Jace Amaro. I want Amaro on this team. I want him to at least be able to contribute in some capacity. I mean, yes, at Texas Tech, he was dynamite. Probably the best tight end in college football at that time for that year. And then I don't know what happened in New York with him not working out. When we got him off of waivers, I was excited about this guy. I figured he could be a good backup to Delaney Walker, catch the ball, could be a big-time pass catcher. And we saw it a little bit against the Raiders. Last year. He caught a couple of big passes helping Marcus out a bit out of a really tight jam. And like you said, blocking is his only issue. If he could show he could block a little bit, and I think he could get better with, and show that he could get better with it as the season goes on, I agree with you. I'm taking Amaro over Supernall 10 times out of 10, and twice on Sunday. Absolutely. I would love to see Amaro on the field more because I think he will be a factor at some point, at least until Jonnu Smith is ready, if he's not. But I think Jonnu will definitely be on the field. And Jerome Cunningham, I just think it's a numbers game. That's why he doesn't make the team, in my honest opinion. But of course, for all of this to work, as far as this offense to go, we got to have the big hogs up front. We got to have the hogs up front on the offensive line. And I could definitely say, without a doubt, forget the Dallas Cowboys. And as Uncensored would say, fuck what the Dallas Cowboys got. Tennessee Titans, in my honest opinion, have one of, if not the best offensive line in football. I mean, we got Lawan, we got Spain, we have Ben Jones in the middle. I mean, Lawan, a freaking Pro Bowler, one of the guys that made the top 100 list along with Delaney and Marcus and DeMarco on the offensive side of the ball. You got Quinn Spain. I mean, this guy's come a long, long way from being undrafted out of West Virginia. Ben Jones, the barefoot walking Ben Jones. Barefoot walking, clay shooting Ben Jones in the middle, along with Josh Klein and, of course, All-Pro Jack Conklin on that. Love these Hogs up front. I love the fact that they're just together. They're together in everything. And it's wherever Marcus goes, they go too. And we can't give enough love to that. Matt, please chime in on this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one big thing. You know, you see him at the Preds games, just gelling together. I mean, you look at where we were 2 years ago with our offensive line and our secondary were clearly our weakest points on the entire team. Mm-hmm. And just 1 year, you know, we I don't even remember the guy's name. The only reason I remember what he was, Chance Warmack called out the offensive line coach. Said I guess he used to be a linebackers coach or something. I don't know what the hell he was. He wasn't an O-line coach. Yeah. So we bring in Russ Grimm, and you know all the difference in the world. You know we got lucky getting Jack Conklin in the draft.
Yes.
That was a great move at the time. You know it was between him and Taylor Decker, I believe, and you know, I wasn't sure at the time if it was worth to trade back up to get him at that point. But, man, was I, you know, not that I was hating on him because I wasn't. I know a lot of people wanted Laramie Tunsil, and I was not on board with that. But we definitely panned out with Jack Conklin. But Taylor Lewan is probably, you know, how often can you say that you have one of your favorite players on the entire team as an offensive lineman? Because I don't think I ever have. But this dude... He's top three for sure. I mean, this guy, you know, if he's not number three, he's in the top five hands down. There's no question about that. But I love Taylor Lewan. But I'll tell you what, man, it all came together when we brought Ben Jones in because Ben Jones was that one missing piece. You cannot be successful when you have what's his name, Brian Schwenke as your starting center. I'm sorry, you just can't do that. So
no, you can't.
You know, when we brought in a center that knew what he was doing, that's going to solidify the line as a whole. So if the guy next to you is good and he's holding his end of the bargain, you know, you're going to play better. And that's basically what everybody's done. You know, we brought in Josh Klein. Josh Klein's played great. Yeah. Dennis Kelly for DGB. You know, when Taylor Lewan got ejected that game, Dennis Kelly stepped in and, you know, he didn't miss a beat. Like,
no, we didn't. We didn't.
You look at the year before, and it was the complete opposite. So, you know, obviously coaching is a big part. You got to give Russ Grimm props for what he's done. But these guys, I mean, like you said, they gel, they do everything together. That's what you need on an offensive line.
I absolutely agree. I mean, you got to have cohesion. You got to have chemistry with this particular offense. And I just love the fact that these guys are together. And yeah, I'm absolutely with you, and I know we talked about this on the podcast when I told y'all, and I think a lot of us agreed that nobody thought we were going to take Taylor Lewan back in, I believe it was 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Nobody thought we were going to take Taylor Lewan with that 11th pick. I mean, we had Chance Warmack, we had Michael Roos and David Stewart. Nobody thought we were going to take another offensive lineman. We did. Ended up being one of the best moves that could have possibly been made. And then going into the draft with Jack, you know, I'm just thinking we're going to take Laramie Tunsil, and I'm seeing Laramie Tunsil fall. Only problem was when that whole, you know, the whole mask and the, you know, him getting high and everything on the mask comes out 30 minutes before the draft. I mean... That
was the best thing. That was the best thing that ever happened to us, man.
I agree because I think Laramie Tunsil would have been picked, and right now I believe he's a guard in Miami now, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe trying to get out to left tackle, but when that video came out, that may have been a saving grace for the Tennessee Titans and us picking Jack Conklin. And nothing against Taylor Decker either. Taylor Decker would have been a nice pickup as well, although in that game against Detroit, Brian Orakpo was just working him. I mean, Orakpo and even Kevin Dodd on a couple plays was working Taylor Decker. So I think we got the best of the bunch in Jack with that. Dennis Kelly, I didn't know who the guy was when we traded him for DGB. And, I mean, like you said, we didn't miss a beat against the Packers when he came in. And, I mean, with that jumbo tight end, you knew we were going to run the ball big and hard when he came into the game as that extra lineman. And so, I mean, Dennis Kelly is a major part of this offensive line. He's our sixth man. And I agree with you. I think Russ Grimm should have some MVP votes for the team as far as what he has done with this offensive line gelling together. But my question to you is, we got to have some depth behind us. We know we got Dennis Kelly, but who do you think ends up being behind us in this offensive line? Do we see anything with maybe Tretola or the guy that we signed for New Orleans, Tim Lelito, or anything with our new draft picks, Corey Levine, Brad Seaton coming in? Could any of these guys provide some good depth behind them just in case if something happens? God forbid nothing happens to our top five, but what do you think as far as depth behind us?
I think we're pretty much almost where we need to be. I wouldn't get too comfortable with what we have. I think, a lot of us, well, I wouldn't say a lot of us, maybe just me, I had pretty decent expectations for Tretola coming out last year. Mm-hmm. He's a great run blocker, has an awesome attitude. He wants to put you into the ground, and that's what we need on that line. But as far as pass blocking goes, that's what's keeping him back. He's not quite there yet. I'm hoping that, these guys that are ahead of him can show him the ropes a little bit. But like you said before, Tim Lelito, I think, was a great signing for backup depth. Who else do we got?
We also got Corey Levine and Brad Seaton, the draft picks.
Those are some big boys. Now, I haven't seen much tape on them. Glenn is the expert on the O-line when it comes to guys I've never heard of, but maybe we can bring him on for something. But I don't know about those guys. I know they're massive guys. So I do like Lelito and I do like Tretola, but I just don't think Tretola is quite there yet. I wouldn't mind getting one more guy, maybe a veteran that gets cut somewhere along the lines, just to bring in, in case. But the O-line, I wouldn't call them quite the best in the league, but they're up there for sure.
Absolutely. And definitely, and I got a couple of questions as far as the offensive line we're going to get into with Pick My Brain in just a bit. But before we do get into the Pick My Brain portion segment, as far as on offense, position battle-wise, and I know we've talked about it a little bit. What position battles are you looking the most forward to, or would you be the most interested in?
On offense, man, it's got to be the number one. Has got to be receiver. I mean, that's got to be everybody's answer. To go outside the box a little bit, I'll go ahead and go back to what we were talking about at tight end, because I wanted to make this point earlier, but this ties in great. The whole third tight end situation. Hell, we don't even know if Jonnu Smith takes that number 2, which I think we all assume he will. But that's not a given. Let's assume he does. It's not out of the question that we keep 4 tight ends, and I don't want to go that route. I know we did that a couple years ago, and everybody kind of looked at it like, why? But if we like what we see out of Jace Amaro this camp, and we want to keep him, but we can't give up the blocking of Supernal or whatever the case, it's not out of the question that they keep 4 tight ends. So wide receiver, seeing where everybody fits in is obviously the big part, and I'll let you go into that. But But tight end is that dark horse third position spot that I really want to see what happens, because I don't want to keep 4. I would love just to cut ties with Supernal, but I believe they just re-signed him not long ago, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do that, but that's kind of just what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I think, and I know a lot of people are going to be talking about the wide receiver, which we'll get into that with Pick My Brain, because I think a lot of people have questions about the wide receiver position. But